Hi, my name is Zach, and in this video, I'm going to show you how you can create a workflow that allows you to automatically update deals that are being stored inside of Google Sheets using a Slack message. And we're going to do all of this by using Make. Now, let's go ahead and pull over the Google Sheet that we're actually working with. Now, in this workflow, we are using Google Sheets. It's a very easy and quick way that you can kind of store deal information or customer information. And it's a great way when you're first getting started, or maybe you even have just a simple need for it. You don't really need anything super fancy in order to track your information. Google Sheets can be a great starting point, or even a spot for where your business is currently. But with that being said, if you want to use this same workflow but with a CRM like Salesforce or HubSpot, you can definitely do that. It will just require a few modifications. But in this specific workflow, we're going to be using Google Sheets. Pretty low cost, easy to use. And if we look here, I also have my Google Sheet set up really simple. Yours may have a lot more columns than mine does, and possibly a lot more rows. But we can see here that we have deal name and next steps are the two columns. And then I have for the deal name the actual customer or client name here. And then next steps are the next steps in the process. So I have send contract, and then I have schedule onboarding as just two examples here. Now, if we move over to the actual workflow that I have set up here in Make, it's called a scenario inside of Make, you'll see that how this works is that it starts off with a new message in Slack. And if I click on it, we can see the settings here. I have selected the testing zone public channel. So it's going to be triggering off of any new messages sent to the testing zone channel. But then we're going to immediately filter those messages so that all the rest of the steps only continue if that message that was sent to testing zone in Slack has the words deal name and, as you can see here, I'm using the and operator, and next steps. And you can see here, this is the text field that was mapped in from step 1 in both spots. And I also have for both of these, the text operator is set to contains case insensitive. And that's really important because that will make sure that if this is all uppercase, lowercase, a combination of the two, in either one of these two fields, that it will still recognize that this is supposed to be a deal update, and it'll go through the rest of the steps. All right, and then in the next step here, we're using a text parser match pattern step. And what this allows us to do, as you can see here, it may look kind of weird if this is your first time viewing a regular expression, but it allows us to use a regular expression, or also called regex, in order to filter out the text that's being sent in to see if it matches a certain pattern and then return the results of that. So there are a lot of different websites that you can do, and there's some tools that you can experiment with regex. But what I find to be kind of the easiest, especially if you're first getting started with regular expression, is to take the text that you want to use a regular expression for, or even a sample text here, like in this case, the deal name, next steps. They're going to have different next steps, different deal names, but the format is always going to be the same. So you can take that text, go into ChatGPT, Gemini, your AI tool of choice, provide the text and say, hey, can you create a regular expression based on this text that does this? So like, for example, here, you can say, hey, could you take this and give me the deal name, the next steps, and then the content between those two fields that are listed afterwards. So that is a great way, quick way to get this going without you having to do kind of a master class or a training on how regular expressions work, because it could take a little bit of time to get used to it. But how this works here is that it is first looking for the word deal, and then it's skipping any spaces that are after that. So there's one space, multiple spaces, it doesn't matter. It's going to skip it, and then it's going to look for name. And then it's going to do the same thing, skip however many spaces are coming up. And then it's going to check if there's a dash or a semicolon right after deal name. Now, this will also work if there's just a space, but we're also checking for like a dash or semicolon. And then, again, we're skipping however many spaces are there. And then we're wanting to grab the actual value. So what's right after deal name? We want to grab the actual deal name that's listed. And then we want to find next. It's basically the same thing we did here, but just repeated for next steps. So we're looking for the word next, skipping however many spaces. Then we're looking for steps. Again, skipping however many spaces. Looking for a dash, semicolon, or a space. And then we're grabbing the actual next steps. And now I have it set here for a global match to no, case sensitive to no. This is so that way, whether, again, if it's capital, next, lowercase steps, combination of the two, it doesn't matter. It will still register as matching this pattern. And then I have multi-line set to no, but single line is set to yes. And the reason for this is because what we're getting from Slack, it isn't going to have these characters. It's not going to have the uppercase and the dollar sign. But if you do have it on another line, it will have this character just kind of embedded. You're not going to see it in the Slack message itself, but you're going to see this /n if you're looking at the actual code. And so we want that to be recognized whenever that's added in there, so that if you were to do like deal name, next line, next steps, that it does show, or it does register as matching the pattern as well. And then I have this set to no because it should match the pattern if it passes the filter, but just in case, I don't want it to really go through the rest of the steps if the regular expression module here, or the text parser module rather, with a match pattern action does not actually find a match. And then we're also applying this match pattern logic to the same field we were looking at in the filter, the text from step 1 of this scenario here, which is watch public channel messages from Slack. All right, and then we're going to go and search for a row inside Google Sheets. And you can see here I have selected, this is my Google Sheets connection. This is the actual spreadsheet. So it's called Dill's test. So if we go back over here, you can see that right here. This is the sheet that I have selected. And actually, I should have clarified, that's the worksheet, or the actual file that I have selected. But the actual sheet or worksheet name is sheet 1, which is right here. And then we are looking for the deal name column. So this right here. We want to see basically if the value in the deal name column, and I'm also using the equal to text operator, case insensitive again, so that way if it is, uppercase, lowercase on the name, mix, doesn't matter. And then what we're doing is we're taking the value. So you can see this here. I have a few different functions here, but let me focus in on what we're pulling in from the text parser first. So we're pulling in the actual value. Sam Doe in this case is from the example that was done for the deal name. So that is $2. And you can see here just the other mappable options is deal name. That's not the value, that's just the word deal name that was found. Then we got Sam Doe, the actual value for it. Then next steps, just again the words, and then the actual value for next steps, which is send a proposal. And what we're doing here is we have a series of functions, and you can find these. So the first one here, to string, is going to be right here where you have the big A. And what this is going to do is that it's going to convert any value to a string. And then we're also going to trim function, which is also, I believe, is it over here? Let me see, where is the trim function? There it is. Sometimes you get a little hard to find it just because there's so many different functions that are here. But you would want the trim function and then the split function as well. Found that one a lot quicker. And so what this is ultimately doing here, so all the functions inside of make are going to go innermost out. So it's going to start with the split first. And what we're doing is we're looking for if there is a line break. So if there is that special character of /n. And if so, we're technically splitting it into two different values, even though after /n, there should be nothing in this scenario. And because, again, all we're doing is we're just grabbing the value for deal name. We're not actually grabbing next steps or anything after that. And then we're going to trim it. So we're going to remove that second line or anything that's like that was actually in that second split. And then we're going to convert that back to a string. And so ultimately what this is ensuring happens is that the text that is coming from the text parser step does not have this /n in it, and kind of creates kind of a formatting issue. All right, and so that is what this is doing. And ultimately what this is doing is that it is just, again, finding the corresponding row that matches the deal name. So if, for example, Mike Smith comes in, it is looking through this Google Sheet, it's finding Mike Smith, and then it's pulling this row, the row that Mike Smith is on. And we're going to come back to that Slack tab a little bit later. All right, and then what we're doing is we're having a split. So I added a router module so that it can handle two different scenarios. So you see here I have two different filters that are set up. And the first route that it will try is that it's going to check if this step here found a row number. Basically, was there a match that was found? And if it did not find a match, then it's going to go through the rest of this route. The second route is going to continue as the same logic, but it's going to go if the row was found, if it was able to find a match in this search rows module, or action rather. So let's go ahead and keep going through the first route first. And so if row was not found, what's going to happen is that we're going to add a row to Google Sheets. And what this is doing is just selecting that same file, deals test, same sheet, and then we're mapping in the values. We're mapping in the values from that text parser module, and we're getting the actual deal name value, mapping it to the deal name column, and then we're getting the actual next steps value, and we're mapping it to next steps column. And so what this is ultimately doing here is that if you're adding a new deal, so this is the first time that, we look at one that I deleted previously but was in that example, Sam Jones. Sam Jones isn't in here. So if Sam Jones is not in here, it's not going to find it whenever searching for rows. So then it's going to go ahead and add a new row here for Sam Jones with the actual next steps that you provided. Now, if you want to not have this ability so that it only updates existing deals, if you have like a specific process for actually adding deals initially, if you want to like manually do it, or maybe you are modifying this workflow so that you're working with a CRM and you have a different process for adding it to the CRM initially, you can go ahead and just remove both the router and this whole path here and just rely on the second path. But the last thing we're going to do on this first route is we're going to then create a message in Slack, and we're going to send it to the testing zone channel, the same channel that the message originally came in on step 1. And for the text, which is going to be the message that's sent in Slack, we're going to say deal and grab the, hit the wrong button here. Meant to do this. We're going to grab the deal name value from that text parser module and say deal, in this example, Sam Doe. I thought it was Jones earlier, but Sam Doe was found on row. And then we're pulling in the row number from this step because it wasn't here whenever we initially search for rows. So we have to pull it in from the add a row step. And it was updated successfully in Google Sheets. And then I have a link here to the actual Google Sheet file. So that way, if you want to manually check it, you can. And then what we're doing here is we're pulling in the timestamp from this first step in the scenario. And what that allows us to do is actually add this message as a thread, as a threaded message or a reply to the initial message that was sent over here at the very beginning. And then pretty much everything else is left the same. So you can modify some of this, like if you want a specific icon, you can put that in, but it's not really needed. All right, and then lastly, going over here to step 2. Again, this is going to only work if the row of a row that previously existed was found in that step. And so we're going to update that row that was found. Again, this is the same sheet or the same file and the same sheet. And then for the row number, we are using the value from the search rows step. And then what we're doing is, since we're not really changing the deal name shouldn't have any change. This isn't a new row either, so we don't need to add it. It was already found in this previous step. We're just mapping in the value from that text parser module again, $4, which is the next step's value, so that it is updated in the Google Sheet. And then, lastly, we are creating a message, and Slack looks pretty much just like the first one, except we're pulling in the row number and the deal name from the initial search step. So that is the only difference here. The rest of the message and the timestamp, all of that is the same. All right, and now that we have that all set up, let's go ahead and run it. Or actually, let's see. So another important thing is that you can set this and make at a specific interval session. So you have a lot more flexibility in how you want this run. So you can do it at regular intervals, once every day, day of the week, on demand. And even if you don't select on demand, you can go ahead and just hit this run once and it will run on demand. So you have a little more granular control than what you would with like Zapier, for example. But let's go ahead and test this out. So I am going to do, let's actually add a new one. So we're going to do deal name, Sally Smith. Oh, hit the wrong button. Sally Smith. Next steps, schedule initial not the best speller, meeting. All right, and as you can see here, I did do a combination of things here. So I have the colon, and then I have nothing here, just a space, just kind of highlight that, you can do multiple formats. And we're going to run this once, and it should find that message. And you see here, it went through all the steps very quickly, and it added a new row, and it sent a message. So if we go back over here to the message, you'll see the threaded message, the reply to my initial one. Deal Sally Smith was found on row 4 and updated successfully in Google Sheets. You can view the sheet here. If I click on that, I may have used the wrong URL. But if we go over here, you will see that it was successfully added. Sally Smith schedule initial meeting. I just need to go back in here and update. Let's see, I believe. Double check. Yep, that should work. Yep, it was just the wrong URL. I will go ahead and update that in both spots. All right, and then also another very important thing whenever you're making a workflow in Make, you want to hit the save button. I have accidentally not hit the save button before, and then you kind of lose everything that you did. Sometimes you can find it back by going into the history if you ran it once with all the steps, but saves you a lot of headache if you just hit the save button. And it will prompt you if you go to leave, like, hey, you haven't saved it yet, please hit save. But try to get into the habit of actually hitting the save button, so that way you don't have to even worry about potentially not saving it and losing your work. All right, now what we're going to do is, since we did that, we are going to do another one. And you'll see here, actually, Zapier kind of did the same thing because I have a automation from Zapier also running in the background. Let me actually just go ahead and turn that off real quick. I completely forgot about that. All right, and now I have turned that off, so Zapier should not be trying to basically redo the same work that we already did in Make. And let's go ahead and try our second route. So this one is we're going to be updating a row, and let's go ahead and do this for Mike Smith. We're going to update their deal information. So we're going to say deal name Mike Smith, and then we're going to do next steps. We'll say since contract. Right now it's just schedule onboarding, so we're going to send them a contract. Let me actually close out of one of these. All right, and again, you see that I did do some a different formatting than before. So unlike before where it's two separate lines, I have it all on the same line with deal name Mike Smith. There's no space here, or there is a space, but there's no like colon or dash, and then next steps and send contract, and different capitalization as well. So that's just to highlight that, it does work with additional formats. And you see here, it went through this route because it already existed. And you'll see deal Mike Smith was found in row 3 and updated successfully in Google Sheets. You can view it here. And now if we click on the link, it'll actually take us to the right Google Sheets file. And you can see Mike Smith now has sent contract, just like John Jones, but the capitalization on contract is lowercase. And that is everything. I hope you enjoyed watching how to make this workflow, and I hope it's also very useful for you as well in doing this. There's a lot of benefits to this. It just kind of makes it easy that you can update deal information from Slack, but also you can do this for other things. It doesn't have to just be deal information. You can use Slack to update other details as well. So for example, maybe you have like a knowledge base management system and you want to be able to say like, hey, here's a new article, and you could go ahead and send that. Or maybe you want to just add an update to an internal knowledge base. You could also potentially add people to like a text messaging list if you're using automated marketing text messages in a way that like is connected online, such as like Twilio or another app. There's a lot of potential uses for a similar workflow like this. So feel free to, modify this, make it your own. I always say that for all the workflows because I do believe workflow automations are really more like kind of a personal endeavor. Even if it's just for your business, each business is going to be personalized. And so that, what I have here, you're probably not going to want to do exactly like how I have it. You're probably want to make some modifications to the messaging, to maybe even how the logic works. But this is a really cool automation that kind of shows you what you can do. And so, again, I hope you enjoyed it. Go ahead in the comments down below. Let me know if you have any feedback for this workflow. If you want to see any other workflows in the future, definitely am open to suggestions because, I want to make these videos as helpful as I can so that they have the most impact for everyone. If you want to see me do this exact scenario, but inside of Zapier, which they call them zaps instead of scenarios, but the same workflow inside of Zapier, go ahead and check out the video I did on that. I'm going to have it either somewhere around here or in the description below. And lastly, go ahead and hit that like button if you like this video. Hit the dislike button if you didn't. And if you want to watch more workflow automations, think about hitting that subscribe button. I'm going to be putting out more of these as time goes on. So if you want to see the latest ones that I do, that's a great way to do it. And lastly, have a great rest of your day. Bye.